Now that we've got our environment built, as you can see right here, it's time to set up our production workflow inside of Sequencer. This is going to allow us to start putting together our shots and creating a real-time edit. So I'm going to be working in 516 Grasslands. This is the map that I recently created. That's part of our short film here. It's sort of one of the last scenes that we're going to have that's going to sort of bring the story of our little drone to a close. Once you watch the larger piece altogether, you'll sort of see the context there. So what I've first done is inside of my cinematics folder, which I created, I have a sequence folder. Inside of that, I have master sequences for each of my individual levels that need to be loaded. I'm doing this just so I can sort of keep everything organized. I don't just have one folder with every single individual shot in the movie. So the way that this works, as you can see here, I have a sequence master grasslands that is going to correspond with this level. If I open that up, I have a blank sequence. Now, I'm not going to add camera cut tracks to this sequence specifically. I'm just going to add a shot track. The shot track is going to serve as our real-time edit of this scene. Inside of this track, I'm going to add shots by adding level sequences. And each of these level sequences are going to be filled with their own camera. Just one at a time though, so then I can edit it down here. So let's go ahead and create a brand new level sequence. I'm going to go inside of my cinematics folder, inside of my shots folder. I have a folder here for 516 Grasslands, and I'm going to call this Grasslands Shot 1. All right, so as you can see now, I have a brand new shot. It's empty. I can go ahead and add a camera here. And this is going to be my current view. I'm going to go into the details panel and just set my properties, my sensor properties, to the same as the rest of the film here. And this is essentially me starting my first shot. So if I go back and I go back into my sequences folder and I go into my master grasslands folder, you'll see that I can then add my shot here. So let's go to Grasslands 1 and it's going to show up inside of the timeline if I view through my shots track. This is the basic functionality of getting your shots into a master sequence for your level, which will then go into an overall master edit for your entire piece. So if you've storyboarded out your piece and you have literal storyboard frames for every camera setup that you're going to have, you can start duplicating this one into shot 1, shot 2, shot 3, shot 4, etc., to sort of populate this folder. And then you can just start opening each one of those and start setting up new camera angles. If you just have an outline and you don't really have frames, you can essentially start improvising here just by piloting the camera around and starting to feel out where you want your positions. Let me go in here. Let's pilot the camera. And I can start moving this around and start trying to frame up. So as you can see on my screen here, I have this frame sort of figured out. So I'm going to navigate, I'm going to sort of move into that general framing over here. And I'm about to be ready to actually start working on this shot once I line this up a little bit more perfectly. So what you're going to see here is that if you're working across multiple levels, meaning multiple different sets, multiple different environments, you're definitely going to have to create some workflow like this, especially if you want to stay completely inside of the engine. Now, if I was using an external program to edit, then I could just render these out one at a time, but I'm actually needing to render the entire thing in the engine just to show that I can make a film completely inside of the engine without going anywhere else. So all this stuff needs to be organized into these master sequences, and I need to have all these shots separated as well. That's going to make it a lot easier later on when we get into post to actually stream all of the information in this level and every other level simultaneously, making them visible and invisible, so I can actually have the edit progress through my entire story through all these different levels right here, real time. That being said, if your film takes place in just one location, let's say my film just took place in this grasslands area here, I would just need to create the master sequence. I wouldn't need to do an overall master edit sequence, which we'll be looking at a little bit later on. So, you know, that would be greatly simplified and much more self-contained. So once we have this set up, I'll go back to my sequencer here. This is where we're going to start adding stuff. All of our tracks for all of our animated objects here. Once we actually start building a shot, we'll be putting lights in here. We'll be putting our drone actor here. Anything else that's going to have any sort of animatable properties will exist inside a sequencer. And this is how we're going to set up each individual shot. And this is how I set up all the shots that currently exist in the edit of the film.